We've seen this scene from Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark in so many movies like Boss Baby or Ready Player One, so don't you think it's about time that we look at the original source? That's right, it's time for everything missing Steven Spielberg's Raiders of the Lost Ark. Find these hidden Easter eggs somewhere in this video, be the first one to comment where they are, and I'll be buying your tickets to the movies. The movie starts out with the Paramount Mountain fading into the normal mountain in real life, but it's not just a play on the Paramount logo. Steven Spielberg's last name means Play Mountain, so it's also a reference to his last name. George Lucas is the one that came up with the story Raiders of the Lost Ark, and being good friends with Steven Spielberg, George let Steven tell the story.
And, he let me shoot second camera. I think he was doing it just to be nice to me.
And as much as George tried to fight it, it seems Harrison Ford is George's repeat actor that he likes to use in all of his movies. One movie character he's probably most known for is being Han Solo. He's not the only thing that's tied to Star Wars in this movie though. Run! When Indy's escaping the native tribe, if you look at the numbers on the plane, it looks like 3CPO. However, it actually says OBCPO. OB is a reference to Obi-Wan Kenobi, and CPO is a reference to C3PO. But when the engine starts, that sound that you hear, that is a blaster from Star Wars.
Yes, I bet you have.
However, if you explore the Well of Souls carefully, you will see C3PO along with R2-D2 is in the hieroglyphics, obviously giving a shout out to George Lucas, who's famous for Star Wars. When they're walking with the Ark of the Covenant through the canyon and he's gonna blast a rocket through it, this film location is literally the same location where the Jawas kidnapped R2-D2 in Star Wars. Chewbacca was also modeled after George Lucas's dog, and Indiana Jones was named after his dog as well. That's right, his dog's name was Indiana. The movie was also made back in the day before the idea of green screens, so you can't just do this. So it took a lot more creativity to figure out how to pull off a lot of these scenes.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Part of the success was Harrison doing his own stunts.
Have you ever done anything like this? Dragging behind a car?
Dragging behind a car. Dragging behind a car. No?
I'm sure it's not dangerous. See, if it was dangerous, they would have waited till we got more of the movie done.
But then for some of the more risky stunts, he had a stunt double. In this scene, when he went under the truck, that was his stunt double, Terry Leonard. And there actually wasn't enough clearance between the truck and the ground.
We have clearance, Clarence.
Roger, roger.
To not crush his little head, so they actually had to dig a ditch parallel to the road, and if the driver swerved or came out of that track, there wouldn't be enough clearance between his head, and it would have been a fatal situation. This stunt was also a tribute to a similar stunt done in the movie Legend of the Lone Ranger. Terry Leonard was the stuntman that also recreated the same type of stunt, only with a stagecoach, and it almost ended very badly for him in that movie. One stunt that Harrison did do that could have ended his career was in the battle against Goliath here by the Nazi airplane. When they're fighting, the plane ran over one of Harrison's legs and damaged his ACL behind his kneecap. Honestly, he was lucky he didn't lose his leg in that situation, or even worse. Yes, this was a fake plane that they made for the movie, however it was based on real-life planes that were attempted to be used in World War II, and it's still very, very heavy. Terry, Harrison's stunt double, also had his fair share of stunts, obviously the more dangerous stunts. Sometimes he was even on the receiving end of Harrison's punches. Another stunt that almost ended very bad was when a soldier gets thrown out of the window of the truck and he almost fell off the support and went under the truck. Another stunt double, or more like double death, was Pat Roach, this guy. He was actually killed twice by Indiana Jones in the movie. In fact, in the entire series of Indiana Jones, he kills this guy at least once in every single movie. It's kind of like a tradition.
Hello? I'm gonna blow up the Ark, Renee.
You're gonna give mercenaries a bad name.
Another thing that they played off in the cutting room was when this guy, Paul Riemann, looks like he just ate a fly. They actually just cut the scene right before the fly flew out his mouth to make it look like a little inside joke. Another problem they had making this movie was the city that they filmed in. It had over 300 TV antennas on the rooftops, and they had to manually take down every single one of them since the movie was supposed to have taken place in 1936, long before TV antennas were around. so they had to go. And they couldn't just be digitally erased because that wasn't an option back then. So this kind of thing really makes you appreciate this 5-second scene. In case you're new to the Easter eggs thing, there's a famous soundbite called the Wilhelm scream. If you don't know what that is, you're gonna have to check out some of my older videos because we gotta get going today. The scream has been used in hundreds of movies, and in this car chase we hear the scream when he's jumping to the car.
Poison is still fresh, 3 days.
Famous line. This guy might look familiar though. It's not the last time we see him with legs all over his back. If you remember, he was also Dr. Octopus in the Spider-Man movie. Also, at some point in real life, everybody that was working on the movie got sick from food poisoning, except of course Steven Spielberg.
I didn't get sick because I subsisted on canned food from the UK that I just literally opened my cans and sometimes cold had my breakfast, lunch, and dinner from canned food. But all the rest of the crew who ate at the restaurants or at the hotels, they all got sick.
I've heard many times that originally Jones was going to have a giant battle with this Arab swordsman, but because he was sick from the food poisoning, he just asked if he could shoot the guy instead. However, I couldn't confirm that this was actually what took place. In fact, I found they did film the fight scene and even had some cheesy punchlines about the whole swordsman cutting the meat like some sort of a meat butcher. Regardless of the real reason why they cut the scene and just made him shoot the bad guy, nonetheless, it was probably one of the funniest parts in the whole movie. Probably one of the most famous scenes that the movie is known for is the idol theft scene with the boulder in the beginning of the movie. The idol is actually based on a fertility goddess, but what if I told you all those movies weren't actually copying Indiana Jones and they're actually copying something else? Something much older than the Indiana Jones. Well, when George and Stephen were just kids growing up, there was a famous comic book series called Uncle Scrooge. And in one of those stories called The 7 Cities of Gold, Uncle Scrooge and his lads went on an adventure in a lost temple. And they found this big fat idol. And if you grabbed the idol though, it would have triggered a giant rock that would fall and destroy everything. Sound familiar, right? Well, this is because Stephen and George grew up reading these comics and they were inspired by them, and that's where they got the idea for this famous scene. Indiana Jones also seems that he doesn't know how to fly, but in real life, Harrison Ford is actually a real pilot. And he's a pretty good pilot, even though he had that one mess up where he almost landed on a bunch of parked planes.
There's a big snake in the plane, Jock!
He's also not really afraid of snakes in real life. In fact, in The Well of the Souls, he actually helped position thousands of snakes for the best shot. A lot of those snakes weren't actually real though, and a lot of the ones that were real weren't actually snakes. Even though they don't have arms, here's the thing, if they blink, they aren't a snake. They're actually called glass lizards. And that's right, they're a lizard. So next time you get creeped out about a snake, you might be getting creeped out over a lizard. Just look at his little eyeballs. Another thing about the snakes that were in the snake pits is that they used the fire to keep the snakes away from them. But in reality, the snakes were actually drawn to the fire to stay warm. And probably the best Easter egg in the whole movie is...
It's a what? What is it?
Okay. This is the best part. You left me at the best part.
Now, even though a lot of the snakes were fake, thousands were real. And that cobra, it was real. And obviously we already know it wasn't a green screen, so how did they get it done? The way they did this scene without risking death to Harrison Ford was by having a glass window between them. And if you look closely, you can actually see reflections on the glass. At one point, the cobra even spit venom on the glass. There's also rumors that one of the pythons on the set got bit by a cobra and died. Ouch. Dead. So at some point in the movie, Indiana Jones snuck onto the submarine to go with the Ark when the Germans took it from the ship. But a lot of people were left wondering how he made it all the way back without the submarine doing what they do best, and that's go underwater. They actually filmed a scene where he was holding onto the periscope the entire time, but that got cut. Right, another solution is the fact that the submarine wasn't a real submarine though. It was actually a prop made for a different movie called Das Boot, and they just borrowed it for this movie. The submarine pen though that they were docked at was real, and it's from World War II, and it's located in La Rochelle, France, and it was used by the Nazis. In the sake of no Easter egg hunter being left behind, I'm gonna spell this out here. The girl here has the words on her eyelids that say, I love you. It's kind of like one of those puzzles we play with growing up where you have to guess what it means. The message here is literally written on her eyes, so it's saying, I love you. Dennis Muren is a master in visual effects and worked on many films like Star Wars and Jurassic Park. He also got to have a little sneaky cameo as the Nazi spy on the airplane. Reading Life magazine. Yes, that was a real life magazine back in the time. Frank Marshall was the producer of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and he was the pilot of the airplane that exploded on the runway. Rumor has it it's because they were short a stuntman because they were sick with food poisoning. It was also like 130 degrees out, so maybe he just didn't want to leave the hotel. but I don't know, I wasn't there. And the flying wing mechanic is Glenn Randall Jr., who also does stunts for a lot of movies like The Mask of Zorro, or more recently in that time, he was the man behind the helmet in the scene for Return of the Jedi. In the end of the movie, when they open the Ark of the Covenant, it seems like the idea to close your eyes seems pretty convenient for the plot.
Marion, don't look at it. Shut your eyes, Marion, don't look at it no matter what happens.
But the Ark is actually from the Bible, and since Mr. Jones is a researcher, it's safe to say he obviously researched the Bible. In the Bible, there is a story where some people looked inside the Ark. 1 Samuel 6:19, it says God zapped about 70 people dead like the bugs in Bug's Life just for looking inside the Ark.
No! Harry, no! Don't look at the light! I can't help it. It's so beautiful.
So Indy knew to keep your eyes closed if you want to live. Kind of reminds me of another movie that just came out where you have to keep your eyes closed if you want to live. The sound they used for opening the lid of the Ark was actually the back of a toilet lid. One way to add more effects in the end was by strapping light bulbs to all the soldiers to make it look like they were being struck down by the spirit. If you watch in slow motion, you can actually see them hanging off of their chest. And for the creepy ghost, they just had a model underwater with a little bit of light showing, and then they just layered it, kind of like how Disney layers their cartoons with multiple planes. If you haven't already seen my video, Everything You Missed in Ready Player One, go check it out. Indiana Jones's whip is actually in the movie. True fact. Also subscribe so you don't miss our next adventure. Let me know what movie you want to talk about next down below. And remember, most importantly of all, gents and gentlets, share a smile. They are contagious.
Hey, share a smile. They're contagious. Can you imagine a day without smiling? That would be outrageous. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with Crazy Nate. Make sure to leave a thumbs up if he left you feeling great. Have fun and we'll see you next time. And don't forget to subscribe.